Story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
Core TV News, expanding your view.
Thank you for joining us on Core TV News on the Hour. I am Ebulomo Adekunle. Jos, the violence-prone capital of Plateau State, was rocked by multiple explosions. The tragedy, which ripped through the terminus market, reportedly killed scores of traders and customers in the commercial area. Core TV News gathered that the first bomb blast went off in the market located at Jos Railway Terminus at the back of the popular Ahmadu Bello Way at about 2:30 p.m., while the second explosion followed about 30 minutes later. The second blast was said to have killed more people than the first one, as many residents and traders who had fled the scene over the first explosion joined rescue agencies to save the injured and retrieve the bodies of the dead. The first explosion was said to have gone off in a Sienna space bus marked Plateau XP 146 BLD. Men of the fire service who responded to distress calls to fight the inferno that trailed the blast were said to have stayed far away from the market over fears that more bombs could have been planted in the area. The injured were evacuated to the Jos University Teaching Hospital and the Plateau Specialist Hospital in the city. The National Emergency Management Agency says the casualty rate after the twin bomb blasts at the terminus market in Jos could be best described as catastrophic. The coordinator, National Emergency Management Agency, Abdusalam Abubakar, says the first explosion had gone off in the center of the market, while the second followed at about 14 minutes later. Abubakar said both explosives were loaded in parked cars. He said that an idea of the total number of casualties is only possible after the rescue operation. The Senate has unanimously approved President Goodluck Jonathan's request for a 6-month extension of emergency rule in the Northeast. But it also wants a sustained military operations in all 3 states under emergency rule with a view to dislodging the insurgents. And wary of the opposition from northern senators, the Senate handed down a set of conditions for President Jonathan.
Motion as read out by the leader of the Senate and seconded by the minority leader. Say aye. Again, say nay. The ayes have it.
It was a decision that was expected. This was especially as the House of Representatives had earlier given its consent to the President's request. But the Senate's approval didn't come without a price. In fact, 8 conditions were handed down to Jonathan administration as a basis for extending emergency rule in the 3 Northeast states.
We have requested that certain issues be resolved as quickly as possible. We stand shoulder to shoulder and strongly behind our colleagues from all the states affected. We take this in the same vein that we are all equally affected and that this is a national issue and not a sectional issue.
Core TV News learned that Senate President David Mark gave his words to aggrieved senators at a closed-door session before they backed the move. The position of the Senate was later relayed to the media.
We also urged the President to prepare and submit to the National Assembly a supplementary budget to meet any financial requirements that will combat this insurgency, because we are aware that with what is going on now, maybe whatever we have put in the budget, which is due to be signed, I think, in a day or 2, if it's not going to be sufficient, that the President can bring in a supplementary budget so that we will make sure that we deal with this problem once and for all.
To assuage the feelings of senators who were opposed to a standing emergency rule, it wants the Jonathan administration to introduce a Marshall Plan for affected areas. The Senate also encouraged the President to send in a request supplementary budget to meet military and security needs in the region.
Victims and residents of Sabongeri in Kano are recounting their losses after a suicide bomb attack that killed 5. Some residents say they would not be frightened by the attacks. Stephen Unwogo lost 2 daughters to the explosion.
It's a bomb blast, and it affected my 2 daughters, and they are my future. They are my future. I'm confused. I don't even know where I will start, and I don't even know where I will begin in my life.
Right now I'm going to Kano, and I'm even close to where the bomb explosion is. And I used to enter there. So the only thing I can say now, I will just only say, let everybody in Nigeria, not even Kano, all the Nigerians, we have to be praying, Christian and Muslim. We have to be praying for us to stay peace in Nigeria.
I live in Kano and I do my business there. The bomb cannot scare me. That's what I'm saying. I encourage all Nigerians to do so. We will not run for our country because of somebody we don't know or somebody who feels he can scare us with whatever he's planning.
Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Ekiti State Chapter, held a procession demanding the release of over 200 girls abducted in Chibok. Ekiti State's correspondent Rashid was at the protest rally. His report is presented from our studios.
Protest and condemnation have continued over the abduction of over 200 schoolgirls abducted in Chibok, Borno State. Many more Nigerians are adding their voices to the demand that has attracted global attention and military interventions. The Muslim community in Ekiti State condemned the act, demanding for an unconditional release of the girls.
We demand for the safe release of the abducted girls, adding that government should do everything possible to release these girls, including negotiation. Ekiti State Muslims strongly condemn religious interpretation of Boko Haram activities. The entire Muslim community in Ekiti State regard the abduction of Chibok girls as national tragedy. The Boko Haram should not be called or referred to as an Islamic group.
The protest started at Faji Park with Muslim students, women and men saying the Boko Haram ideology is totally against the tenets of the religion.
The Prophet said in the hadith that learning knowledge is compulsory from birth to death. So how can somebody now come out and say that seeking for knowledge is haram in Islam? No. Islam is based on knowledge. In fact, our greatest asset in Islam is knowledge.
Boko Haram, as we know it, it's an aberration in Islam. They are an insurgent, and they are in no way representing the Muslim community of Nigeria. They should release the girls unconditionally, because this is seriously against the principle of Islam.
Various groups that participated in the protest called on the abductors to release the schoolgirls.
We are appealing to federal government, Boko Haram, and all the people supporting this issue. We are appealing to them for Allah's sake to release our children.
I'm pleading with the Nigeria government to hasten the release of our abducted girls. Please bring back our girls.
The clerics at the rally admonished members of the Boko Haram sect to change their ways.
We are telling the Boko Haram people to stop this, to stop their activities. Because if they know that they are really Muslim, Islam doesn't preach violence.
The protesters ended the rally at Ado Ekiti Central Mosque and prayed for the safe return of the girls. They also prayed for the military personnel involved in the search for the girls.
Members of the Lagos State House of Assembly have cautioned the federal government over planned negotiation with the Boko Haram sect for the release of the abducted schoolgirls. The federal government has been under increasing pressure to negotiate with Boko Haram insurgents so as to regain the custody of the abducted schoolgirls. The chairman, Public Accounts Committee, Dayo Fafunwa, advised the government to be careful in accepting the offer of the insurgents. Chairman, House Committee on Establishment and Training, Omowumi Edit, says the government should not consider negotiating the innocent schoolgirls for the release of criminals. On his part, Chairman, House Committee on Service and Special Duties, Ikwola Omishore, says the government should increase intelligence gathering rather than negotiating with the sect, adding that security personnel should be strengthened and to ensure that they were always ahead in terms of intelligence rather than dialogue with the sect. The All Progressives Congress has fixed the date of its national convention for the 13th and 14th of next month in Abuja. The party, at the end of its National Executive Council at the Federal Capital Territory, also raises concerns about what it described as the federal government's insincerity in the fight against the Boko Haram and search for the abducted girls. It's accused the Goodluck Jonathan's administration of not reaching out to it on how to forge a common front against Boko Haram. The nation's leading opposition party says it remains committed to a non-partisan approach to end the scourge of Boko Haram despite the federal government's partisanship. An Abuja Federal High Court has declined jurisdiction in a suit filed by suspended CBN Governor Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. The court has transferred the case to the National Industrial Court for determination. Delivering judgment, Justice Gabriel Kolawole held that the plaintiff's suit was a matter within the purview and exclusive jurisdiction of the President of the National Industrial Court to resolve. He therefore ordered that the case be transferred in accordance with the National Industrial Court Act. Kolawole held that it would be inappropriate for him to go into the merit of the suit because Sanusi's suit bordered on employer-employee dispute concerning CBN, a federal government agency. Justice Kolawole also struck out the name of the Inspector General of Police from the suit as prayed by its counsel, Solomon Umor. It's still the Core TV News on the hour. Take a short break and we'll be back with more. Don't go away.
On the day list this morning, Nigerians encourage corruption, cites June Festa, the Punch newspaper. A new Nigerian Governors Forum calls for Okonjo Iweala's resignation. Page 2 of the Punch newspaper. The dailies every day on Core TV News.
Nigerians continue to
Tonight, the city of Lagos went and dark as all routes.
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west and around Africa. We break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV.
24-hour news station.
Thank you for being there with us on Core TV News on the hour. For more information on our news and other programs, visit us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Core TV News. Twitter handle @Core TV News NG. Also on YouTube, www.youtube.com/Core TV News. Outside Nigeria, a South African judge has ordered Oscar Pistorius to undergo up to 30 days of psychiatric tests to establish if he is criminally responsible for killing his girlfriend on Valentine's Day of 2013. Thokozile Masipa says the Paralympian sprinter should report to Westkopie's Psychiatric Hospital in Pretoria as an outpatient each day, morning, and remain there until 4 p.m. It will be tested to see whether he was capable of appreciating the wrongfulness of his act and acting in accordance with appreciation of the wrongfulness of his act. Pistorius is accused of murdering 29-year-old model River Steenkamp at his Pretoria home
and that
after
the accused present himself as an outpatient to the medical superintendent of the Westkopie's Hospital on 26 May 2014 at 9 o'clock in the morning, and on every weekday thereafter for a period not exceeding 30 days following psychiatrists inquire into whether the accused, by reason of mental illness or mental defect, was at the time of the commission of the offense criminally responsible for the offenses charged, whether he was capable of appreciating the wrongfulness of his act or of acting in accordance with an appreciation of the wrongfulness of his act. Postponed to 30 June 2014.
And that's the news for this hour. Join us again top of the hour for more. Thank you for being there. We'll take a break and we'll be back on Core Digest.